at the cons, and this is the same thing with record fairs. I'm supposed to be selling, and I just leave my partner there, and I go around buying. That's what I say. Like
Oh no, we did that to each other all the
every
time. Yeah.
time, that's what I say. Every time I'm there to try to make some money, I Shanghai my own opportunities.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the making of Turbo Pit Fighter, the
Hey, everybody.
post-apocalyptic. Yes, comic, and that's Jake over there. We are in the midst of making this comic every Sunday, 11 o'clock, getting together, podcasting. And right now, I am inking page 20 of issue number 1, which Jake has already written and, well, let's say penciled, because we do have to come back and fill in these word balloons, of issue number 1. And Jake, how are you
Is
doing, and what are you working on?
I'm on page 12 of issue 2, and I'm at the sequence here where Turbo is got bodies flying all over the place, and is confronting the last two motorcycle berserkers, and she's gonna do her thing, and Turbo's trophy's gonna kick in a little bit, and then they're gonna finally have a breather, and at the end of page 14. So I'm doing
Right.
this action sequence, and I don't like it. I'm erasing this. I'm gonna kind of get a better pose here than this. They're squaring up, but I think I'm gonna zoom in because it was too repetitive of the um, angle and the range of the shot above. So, right, let's kind of close in a little. Um, so yeah, man, how was your week? I know it goes so fast. Seems like we were just here, but
It does. I always have the aspirations of uh, cutting into a page earlier than later, but this whole real world stuff is just for the birds. It's
the real
always
world.
jumping. Yeah, it's such a waste of time, literally. Not even trying to be funny,
The
you
real
know,
world.
the
I,
real world, I mean, you gotta pay the
right. The
mortgage and all this stuff that we get ourselves involved in. Right now, I'm fending off. This video will come out later, but in 2023. But I'm fending off holiday parties.
oh yeah,
So I'm just not interested. That's it
yeah.
says it's only because I went to a couple like a week or two ago, and I just didn't. No, not really.
Yeah, you'd
Not
rather be
interested in
just.
socializing. I'd rather stay home, either rest or work on my stuff. So,
Yeah, I
bah
have.
humbug.
I have also been withdrawing into my turtle shell, and I've been sketching a lot because announcement I got to tell you. I don't know if you're gonna
Uh-oh.
frown on it, but
Oh,
I got approved as a whatnot seller,
yay.
and I haven't done a broadcast yet. Whatnot is this app that I checked out and I was telling you about, and I kept saying, "Oh, this looks interesting." There's a lot
Uh-huh.
of comic book stores on there, and a lot of comic book dealers, guys that do tables and they buy and sell. But which I could do. I could just do a broadcast. Okay, $3 for this one, $5 for that one, $8 for that one. It's kind of like eBay, but it has live streams. So
Yeah.
that caught my eye because the person can ask a question, the person can discuss it. Oh, I have the one after that, and then you talk about the artist, and then you chit chat. Some of these sales go by very quickly. That there's 30 seconds, and then they put the next comic up. Um, but this platform was interesting because it didn't just have used and new comics and slabs and all that. It also has original art, and then it has some streams of artists drawing original art right there live and selling it, and people taking bids on it. So rather than, I mean, I have boxes of comics here, which I'm, be happy to sell. Some of them are valuable, actually. Like, I don't know, I'll just pull one out. The Killing Joke, okay, that's worth at least 10.
Yeah.
Um, so I could be doing that, but then you have to fulfill the orders within 2 days. And I'm just thinking about a postal nightmare of cardboard and tape and when am I supposed to get down to the post office within 2 days? So I'm gonna reserve all that for summertime and everything. And not to mention all the comics, that I have, all the used comics that I've amassed, but I also have records too. I'm a vinyl aficionado and pack rat and hoarder and junkie and everything. So I could be doing records all day long too. And because I do deal records once a year at the WFMU Record Fair, which is going to be back for the first time after the pandemic. I think in October. But it's not for a while. But anyway, point being, no, I'm going to try a live stream of some live drawing and selling some live sketches and test it out, see how it goes. I know that with these things, um, you need to have a following and you need to bring your own people to the table. There's only so many people that are just going to happen upon you in the Whatnot app. Even if you schedule it ahead of time and even if you have a preview there. But I'm gonna do it just for giggles and see at some point, probably over the holiday break. And so I'm getting ready for that.
When's
And
that start for you?
holiday break is going to be Christmas Eve. I get a week off.
Okay.
And so what I've been doing in preparation of that is, I said I've been in my turtle shell lately, is I've been doing a lot of sketching, and I'm doing all these pencil sketches of these characters which I'll ink online, link live on the air, and see if anybody wants to buy. Um, and the last little thing to that is, my peculiarity. Like every time I have a way of trying to, be entrepreneurial, I always hijack it. So instead
What do you
of
mean? What do you mean? You always hijack it?
because I've been doing these sketches, and as I'm doing sketches, okay, I'm drawing a body, I'm drawing a female body, she's
Uh-huh.
strong, she's muscular. Okay, how built is she? Is she gonna be turbo? No, not that built. Okay, she's just a little muscly, like Valkyrie, let's say. All right, who's she gonna be? So I drew the body. Now I'm gonna draw the costume and the hair and the face and everything. And then instead of doing Red Sonja like I should be doing to make money, I just making my own original characters, and I know that's gonna hurt, the ability to sell it. But I'm just like that. I just follow my my artistic inclinations. And so
Well,
uh,
just a little hit. Just can I jump in real quick before I
yeah.
forget? But you and I used to do the Jacob Javits Comic Con when they had him, going on back in the day in the 90s and stuff. And I always remember both of us sitting at we would always reject anybody else's characters to draw. And we would, I don't want to say like argue with people, but we were pretty like, like, oh, well, I got these comic book characters and stuff, blah, blah, blah. And there'd be people who would, partake and grab issues and stuff like that. But they also would eventually be the ones that would come back around and go, are you sure you won't do a commission like of, and it would get into this whole thing.
Conan, yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, and then I would think, crap, you know what? I need at least $40 to get home. So,
Right.
you know, can I mail? And this was my thing though. Any commissions I took, I would take the money, go home, make it, and then mail it to them. And I always put the price of mailing in. If it was $40 for the sketch, or drawing, decent drawing of Conan, I would just say. But the kind of other part of it is that I'd end up getting a couple of people, guys that would come back around
Uh-huh.
and through the internet
Yeah.
because this is
Right.
also mid 90s, late 90s, where the internet's just starting to get, especially email, its own sense of momentum.
Yeah, I'll,
So,
I'll give you my CompuServe address, sure.
yeah, yeah, but we never were. con guys to like sit at a table and do other people's characters. No matter how much we love Red Sonja, Conan, uh, so on and so forth, it was really all about us making our comic book.
Yeah, I mean, you are inspired to draw at a con, and there's a lot of hubbub and people going around, and people will stop and watch you draw and all that. But it's all there's also pressure, like, oh, it's got to look like Red Sonja now, or it's got to look like whoever the character is, and maybe you have it down, maybe not, maybe it's just generic. Okay, it's a person with that costume. Um, but and there's every artist has their interpretation. But there's only so much time there, and like what I would end up doing at the cons, and this is the same thing with record fairs. I'm supposed to be selling, and I just leave my partner there, and I go around buying. That's what I say. Like
Oh no, we did that to each other all the
every
time. Yeah.
time, that's what I say. Every time I'm there to try to make some money, I Shanghai my own opportunities. So Um, so yeah, I was gonna go to this. I was considering this. There was a minor con today in the Bronx, but I'm a little under the weather, and so I'm not going out and wearing masks and rubbing elbows with people. I did want to go check it out and see if it was any good. They had artist tables there also as a possibility. Um, but I don't know if I just want to sit there and just try to sell some of my prints and all that. So, I just skipped it. The next one, I bookmarked a couple other that are coming up. There's a Long Island one coming up pretty quick, and that should be pretty much bigger. And then there's also going to be a Brooklyn one in 2023. There's going to be a Saratoga one, and so there's always more Comic Cons. But there's something I on this topic that I need to share with you and the audience. Um, Besides the fact that people can go on our Instagram and check out this new pinup, I took a screenshot of this, and let's put it here in front of the camera. So this i-
Forbes,
this is Forbes,
North
and
American Comic
this
View
is
of
a
Time.
jump. Everybody can see that big bar on the right. So this
Uh-huh.
this is comic sales by year, and you can see that very, very slowly, North American sales have just been inching up year to year to year. They took a dip during the pandemic. That would be 20, no, yeah, before the pandemic, 2018, 2019, 2020. Maybe you want to say that it slowed the trajectory a little. I don't know. You could argue that the pandemic helped comic sales, so maybe it's just like a wash. But look what happened in 2021, the last year for which there's full data. So this is why I screenshotted this. This is very meaningful. And the parties here that are doing the data are ICV2 and Comicron. Sales leapt from a record-setting 2020 total of 1.28 billion to a huge increase in 2021 of 2.075 billion, the highest total ever measured for sales of periodical comics, graphic novels, and digital. All categories jumped, and so comics are back. And maybe we want to speculate on why. My immediate um, thought was that the pandemic created some nerds and some introspective, nerds that want to go out and have some more time for some, delving into some content and maybe doing some collecting. What do you think?
So my first question is this: are they incorporating manga?
All North American sales. So yes, and we do know that manga has eclipsed. Western comics. I hate to call it
And
Western
sales
comics.
like by 10 to 20% more if I've seen.
Well,
Like it's not,
it was only in the last calendar year that this happened, where manga
yeah.
finally jumped ahead. But we need another word. I think we need to call it non-manga, because when you say Western comics, it's like, oh, Kid Cold Outlaw. No, we mean, we mean like
Yeah, boy.
Marvel and DC and Image and everything besides Viz and and all those other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did say, if you read the whole article, that they're not counting webtoons, and they're not counting tapas, which is another webtoons thing.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
do count digital downloads if it's sold like as an Amazon
Well,
comic.
because the manga has a big, broader distribution network, so they're getting more front stage center positioning in Barnes and Nobles and Borders and whatever places out there. Comic book stores too. I mean, the one place I had gone to, a couple months ago was uh, they had like was it a 10, 12 foot by 6 foot, both sides and on the ends, just manga, just manga. So,
Yeah, there's a
I
definite
mean,
there's a manga section,
but
and
what is it about, what has you kind of, excited, I guess, that sales are growing?
sales are growing.
Are you excited about the sales growing?
Well, they
Are you?
analyzed it, and they said that it isn't comic stores and specialty shops and subscriptions. It's all bookstores. I mean, it's largely bookstores. Just what you're saying right now. And so, people are going into bookstores now, and they are comic sections and graphic novel sections that are very healthy. But there's also this specialty market. This might be happening at cons, and it might be happening at stores, but at comic stores. But they're saying the actual volume of titles has not increased significantly from the year before. That means, comic offerings, comic companies, expansions of the line. So it seems as though they're getting higher dollar amounts for the same stuff, and of course, all of these limited editions and variants and all that. The trend is that people are willing to pay more for, rare runs and, cool things and signed editions and, kind of specialty things, and that suggests, a secondary market where they think, these things are going to, uh, if not hold some value, then maybe even accrue some value.
Yeah.
And we and that's the great thing about comics, is because they could rise and fall at any given time. I mean, if they come out with a movie of a character, all of a sudden the back catalog starts going bonkers, right?
Yeah.
And so there's all these surprises, and if you're sitting on the whole run, and you say, now's my time to cash out, then you just stepped in doo doo, right? So and then there's also, just the basic, like, cult thing, and the rediscovery thing, right? Which is like the kayfabe effect, or
Yep.
podcasts
I
that
was,
go and mine these old, lost comics on the lost highway, or comics that were not, popular once, but they get a little more attention from some, big reviewer site, like Comic Kayfabe, Cartoonist Kayfabe, and all of a sudden they're back on the map, and the back issues are starting to sell out, and retailers are saying, hey, what's going on here? So this is the great thing. I mean, it's kind of like the stock market without as many zeros, right? If you like something, invest in it, hold on to it, keep it, cherish it, and maybe you'll actually sell it for more one day. I say the same thing about records or original art. It's a very fickle market. You could definitely lose your shirt, if not your farm. But on the flip side, there's just people that enjoy it as a hobby, and there's plenty of people that don't draw a lick, and they're just making tons of money because they're savvy, buyers and sellers and traders and dealers and what have you. So it's always interesting, it's always
Well, it's a
interesting.
very comic books have always been, well, for us getting into the 90s, um, it's a speculator market.
Right.
And it was really to that point where especially with Image and
Yeah, they
just that whole thing of independence and the black and white craze and being
X-Men
able to
number
make your
one
own.
with Jay Lee.
Yeah, but then there was also more than just one distributor, and I never personally, I've not ever really bought any comic thinking, oh, wow, this could be worth money later. I've always bought my comics, for my own pleasure
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and,
Me too. I'd rather
I,
have a 25-cent reader copy than the mid,
yeah, 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 yeah.
because it's
But you
cheap.
are right. I mean, I think there is a generational, and COVID, God bless it. It really, I have yet to meet an artist that did not double or triple their income if they were already selling online. I was one of them, because of the amount of time people had on their hands,
Shut in.
using social media, accordingly. And yes, I think a lot of people found, um, comics and said, hey, this is really good. And I would even say it's canon based. So they might be watching something and TV series or Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever, and the canon does lean into a comic book. So
Right.
somebody on a fan fiction level, is producing more because you can't get enough of it,
Well,
right? Um,
the kids are following the pack, and my students are definitely into anime and manga. So on the young side, it's a phenomenon, and we do have to realize, this isn't, Marvel and DC selling
yeah,
more
yeah,
healthily. This is like adding, to pretty much like everything in Japan that's coming over and getting translated and flipped, adding to these totals. So, and they do mention that in the article, the Forbes piece. They also mention, there was a speculator uh, boom cycle or sugar peak, whatever they want to call it, in '93, and that was like the last moment of note. But there has been some steady growth, slow and steady growth, just in the previous years until 21. It just jumps. They say it jumped by 60% over the
yeah.
previous year. So, so I guess we'll see shortly what the year-end stats for 2022 will be. I guess we'll know very shortly. There might even be some articles, as we're in December already. There might even be some articles on the subject. I didn't check, but um, you would imagine, it's just the same because I've gotten back into it. You've gotten back into it more. People, the cons are waking up. In-person cons and cosplay and
Yeah.
all this stuff. So, I would be very surprised if it didn't follow the same trend. Who knows? Maybe even more, maybe about the same levels. But either way, I just think it's a good time now, to be creating stuff. I think the marketplace needs good content. Always did, but now
Always will.
always did, always will, if the content is actually good. And and also, the only new wrinkle now is exploring a couple other options for delivery and a couple of other options for financing, right? And you know, our creators, indie creators now are very, very commonly going to the buying public for crowdsourcing, and we're no different. We're not going to be any different when we get to that stage. So and I love it. I think it's a good thing. I would love to see the tools improved. I would love to see some of the philosophies that you see talked about in Web3 being actually deployed, where there's less gatekeepers, and you can bring down the costs for the end user in order to get greater household penetration. um but everything's evolving. There's always going to be your rich disruptors, and there's always going to be these titans of industry that are going to be protecting uh all their market shares and all that. So the other, so let me cross this off. I wanted to show you that screenshot of sales. And we also mentioned in passing Tapas, which is a Webtoons platform. But I took a quick gander at it, tapas.io. I took a quick gander at it. It doesn't seem any different from Webtoons. It looks like it's all Japanese dominated, and it's all and very female centric, such that there's all of these like romance and relationship stories, and a lot of this I don't know if there's a word for it, but gay scenarios, which is actually not as much for a gay audience as it is for females. So there's that whole thing. But I just browsed down. I might even still have it on my Safari here, but I just browsed down tapas.com, and so it didn't look like there was anything for us there, possibilities of, sci-fi or digital downloads or anything. It's just pretty much the same as Webtoon. So I'm crossing that off my list. But yeah, another thing that I wanted to mention was was what? Oh, I lost my train of thought. I forgot where I was going. I was going somewhere, but now I forgot where I'm going, and it's not on my list. So the other things on my list are um, what I watched last night. I saw a movie. It wasn't very comic-y. You might say it was a little cartoonish, but it was Brad Pitt in Bullet Train.
Oh,
It's a pretty good watch. It has a lot of Japanese cultural stuff and
well, it's
cartoon
in
characters.
Japan.
It's set in Japan, yeah, and it is a really good, scenes of all over Japan, and very good action. I would recommend it. It's kind of funny at the same time. It's action packed, a lot of shoot 'em up type stuff, and
Uh-huh.
a pretty good story. It was based on a book. So crossing that off, I didn't see any new comic related media, but but I did switch over to a TV program that I've never seen before. Maybe you checked it out. It's been on for seasons and seasons and seasons. It's called Kevin Smith's Comic Book Men. And so there's the raspberry. Um, I went in last night and I did a sampler of season one. I just kind of scrolled down the episodes looking for something interesting. And so if anybody doesn't know, like if you're into comics, this may or may not be your ball of wax, but there's these comic book store owners, and they sit around a table with Kevin Smith, who's got the star power, and they
It's his
talk.
store
Right. Well, he's yeah. But these guys that run it, right? I think they're partners.
for him.
Right. They run it for him, and they're his partners. Um, and they just sell comics and toys and stuff, and like they film when people come in to sell something, and the dramatic moment of them bargaining with each other to get the guy down like another $10, and like with dramatic music and stuff, and it's like a
Mm.
reality show, really.
Yeah, like pawn shop or whatever that.
Yeah, right, right.
I
And
mean,
and I got sucked in because I'm
yeah.
watching, and again, I just like skipped through the little descriptions to find something, and I was like, a customer comes in to sell copies of Iron Man 1 and Daredevil 1. So I'm like, okay, I watch it. And so I'm watching this, and it's got freaking commercials because it's on whatever it was on. And I'm sitting through it, and then the guy comes in, and then he gets like $65 for Iron Man 1, and I'm like, okay, that happened. It was very non-climactic, what did I say, anticlimactic. Um, and they have some, like, personalities, that are just like these comic nerds and goof offs that sit around. So I'm not sure what the real appeal is of the show, but I do notice, as I was scrolling down, they've got 7 seasons under their belt. So something keeps getting renewed here. Does it get better, or is it just like running on the same formula of what's coming in the door? They're not. I didn't even see them featuring anything that like, wow, that we're gonna do an interview with Steranko, or we're gonna do this, or we're gonna do that. I mean, is that part of it too? Like, what's your knowledge base of this series?
I ran across it years ago, and very much the same response you had, I had, but you know, wasting time is a perfect, I think, description of it because the value is, they're talking comics. Better than that, they're living comics,
Right?
and
Is
um, with Kevin Smith and Clerks and Chasing Amy. I mean, he has an authentic um, take on growing up with comics and that and his um, movies are all not all but he's making nods to his nerdom
Yeah, his
but
fandom.
I
I
there's
would say
just
it's fandom.
it doesn't go anywhere. That's the thing. After a couple of episodes, you find yourself just in this zone of wasting time,
Right?
and so I had to just really get
Cut it at the
away from
wings.
it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And
interesting to me that, here's a guy in Hollywood, successful guy in Hollywood, keeps coming out with movie after movie. Um, he's more a comic fan, and he's like, reveling in fandom than than, let's say, getting in the game, right? Why wouldn't he write a script? Why wouldn't he
oh,
produce a
he
comic
has.
movie?
Oh,
Oh,
he
really?
has. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Don't. Yeah. It's.
Well, I haven't heard of those movies. What am I missing?
Oh no. Well, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about writing comics.
Okay, so
And I mean, I don't. You're
so
gonna
he
want to do
got
your
he got
homework
into
before
writing
you
some
start
scripts.
making any statements or why he hasn't, or because there's a hardcore Kevin Smith fan base we probably don't want coming down on us.
Well, it's kind of like nichey, right? If you're into his thing. I enjoyed Clerks the once. I'm not going to see it, again. Clerks 2. Did I see Clerks 2? I think I saw Clerks 2 with Rosario Dawson, right? Um, you know, I, I I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, indie-ish, and same thing with Chasing Amy. It was
Mhm.
interesting that he had these big name actors, doing this like real indie looking and indie feeling, movie,
Well, they were
even
comic
though
book
that
artists.
even though they were already big Hollywood stars. Um, so yeah, I think Kevin Smith, right? So Kevin Smith is doing some scripting for some Batman. It says this
Yeah,
is
well,
maybe a couple years ago.
yeah,
So
he's all in.
he did Bullseye. He did
Yeah.
yeah, he did Daredevil, right? So he right, and that's what I would do if I was him. He writes, he screenplays, he does. I would parlay that into some comic gigs, and then I guess I just haven't heard about them because they never became like the be all end all in the comic realm. It's just like when Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote some stuff. It's just like a kind of like a celebrity guest appearance, right?
Yeah.
Um, but but I never heard of him doing any movies, using his Hollywood pull to get some animated stuff off the ground, which we need so bad, you know. Um, and so his reality show is I guess his main contribution, right? His Pawn Stars, what porn?
Yeah, there's a breakout podcast too where he does interview people, and
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because
he's
I really
he's
only
got
saw like
fingers and thumbs in the pie,
two
you
and a half
know.
episodes because there are commercials and I wasn't gonna sit there.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
when you're watching like digital download TV now, it's like it's like mental torture because they're showing you the same commercials over and over,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh
Right.
yeah.
I'm literally begging for like an Anison commercial
Yep.
because I'm watching the same commercial about, you know,
Pharmaceuticals.
trusses or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, so I wanted to mention that. Am I going to dip my toe back in and try to look at some episodes? I will definitely scan like some of the later seasons to see if there's any good comics they're talking about or guest appearances. I know one day they featured The Walking Dead, and I skipped over that because I'm not interested in that comic. But they did like kind of promote how it was an indie comic that it became its own world and its own, phenomenon and all that. So maybe they do, some better jobs at, promoting individual series and stuff. But, I would think if you have a TV show, you want to try to bring to a mainstream audience some of the better comics so they can see what they've been missing, that comic nerds know that they don't, right? What can I get for my kids? What can I get for my comic, loving loved one? Right? And it just wasn't what the show was. It was more like The Bachelorette, like, oh, what's gonna happen next? Like, oh no, the one comic store guy is insulting the other comic store guy, and I feel some tension now, so I'm gonna watch to see how that gets resolved, you know. And then, it's all okay because they're all joking around the table with microphones later with Kevin Smith, or maybe they're just putting on a happy face, but the other guy is really, eating crow. I don't know, so so whatever. But yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just amazing, like our modern media, um, ecosystem, and what people will consume. They'll consume that, but meanwhile, a show like Comic Kayfabe, which is really, you know, plunging the depths or plumbing the depths of like some of the greatest comics ever made is where it is.
They just released a 6.5 hour video where they take on issues 1 through 12 of the Watchmen, and their premise is to just forget about everything that you are putting themselves in a position, which they're probably doing on purpose because you're not going to get it 1,000 people that are going to, I hate, this and I love that and you're wrong about this and you forgot that and everything. And that's really what it's all about and trying to get and maintain people's attention is the emotional level, you know. We've got to professionally actually start coming up with something that emotionally.
Yeah. I don't know if I love them going over. Are they going page by page over the first 12 issues of Watchmen
Yeah, not like we do though of
of Commandy?
like you're actually reading panel to panel. No, they just make comments, like, oh,
Right,
I remember seeing this panel,
right. Because if you don't
and
start reading
this is some
dialogue, then
good
you're just talking
storytelling.
about the aesthetics, the
Oh
composition, the
yeah. Oh, it's
layout,
it's definitely that.
Right. But Watchmen is like it's the same formula throughout the whole thing. It's Gibbons doing.
9 panel grid.
Yeah,
Yep, 9 panel
Gibbons doing
grid.
his very,
Yep.
very kind of like pedestrian, very
Yep.
efficient, very, like realistic and accurate, just
Well, there's an interesting, like, I don't know. I mean, somebody might have already talked about it or something, but it's always been my game with is you know the instructions from Alan Moore's probably like aesthetic or a wish list was for Watchmen was to get the Carlton comics like attitude in there, which was, kind of a flat, safe, um, but heavily consistent behavior in storytelling. And so if he didn't already just have, the idea of working with Gibbons, I think Gibbons probably might have sold to um, Allen that, doing it as some would call cinematographic, but just very straightforward without flourish.
It was very straight, right? That's a good way to put it. Straightforward. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and there's also these elements of noir where you have like, the detective and the long coat and the, and kind of like unwrapping a puzzle, with clues and everything with Rorschach.
Hmm.
But then it gets
Hmm.
like really crazy too. It starts opening up into some, serious superhero stuff and some serious fantasy stuff.
But just to close down on the other topic we were just going on about is like, you know, I personally will definitely have that episode in the next couple of days running in the background to listen to them talk about Watchmen. I won't run 6 hours of Kevin Smith comic book store or whatever in Jersey trying to negotiate for an issue 37, 20, whatever. I that's the difference I have
Right. Well,
in
it's meaningful content.
spending my time, but I'm also in this, as a creator, for for the specific reason that I love comics, but it's not just
Right. I think
like
that I
I hate saying I made a comic book to somebody who has nothing to do with comics because then their immediate brain goes, is it Batman or Superman he's working on?
right.
Eh, neither, and I can't stand
Well,
that.
cartoonist kayfabe is in the title, so that target audience. I think it is very heavily, creators. Um, I'm sure there's plenty of fans and collectors in there too, but they kind of analyze it from the perspective of two creators, and that's what attracted me to a couple of episodes because they're breaking down, the artist's, perspective of it. They don't get too much into writing, as much as the art because you don't stop and go through all the panels and go through all the storylines and sub threads and all that. That would probably take too long. Um, but I came across, yes, yeah, I had it on in the background myself yesterday, and I had to stop what I was doing and look up at the screen because I just put on the TV, and they had an episode of that was featuring Master of Kung Fu, which was my favorite.
Yep.
Yeah,
I was going to bring that up to you, but
I
I
found
figured
it.
you'd find that
It
on your
appears
own.
in my YouTube algorithm. And but it wasn't Paul
Yeah.
Galassi. It was one of his successors, Gene Day, and
Gene Day.
I did not realize. I remember
Okay,
at the
awesome.
time, Gene Day was incredible. He was keeping the franchise going.
Oh,
Not to be confused with Mike Zeck. Mike Zeck, I think, was the first guy that took over for Galassi, and he was working with Day as an inker, penciler. He also, I think, did a long run on his own, taking over the title. But Gene Day had it. Gene Day came out of kind of like the Rebel Studios camp with the Vigils, with a brother. They explain, and then when they're showing you his stuff, it's just like the most incredible example of modern day comics that I could probably point to because
they even say it. They even say
like that
nobody
anymore.
makes comic books like that.
Right.
Hello, here we are.
It's
Look at
exactly
the. I mean, I'm going to say it out loud. The whole entire time I was trying to keep myself from calling you because I knew you were at school work because, you know, I'll blow the whistle here. This is that They say Conan the Barbarian and Master of Kung Fu, two non-superhero comics coming out in the 70s from Marvel. They had all soups and nuts, Jim Starlin,
Steranko, yeah.
Steranko influenced, and pushing the medium, and that's what we're doing. Is we're now living off the
Yes, well,
top of
I always
that.
complain that modern comics are too sparse, they're too posy, they're too melodramatic,
They do
they're
too.
too posy, right? When I say posy, it's just a bunch of people posing, and then it's just too much talking heads, talking heads and no backgrounds and sparse and everything.
Jeez.
So his comics were everything that was not,
Yes.
and I
No
would say
breathing
even
room.
maybe to a fault because there was
Yeah.
7 to 10 panels on every page. I was even saying, like, why doesn't he make the panels a little bit thinner? See how my panels are on the thin side here,
Yeah.
right? Why not just make the panels a little thinner and buy yourself a half an inch, right? Um, but Gene Day was, for anybody that's interested in really good quality storytelling. Gene Day would like get a whole bunch of like Asian art swipes, and then he would integrate a masterful Doug Mensch story. Who was at the top of his game for years and years doing Master Kung Fu, and was sorely missing Paul Galassi, who was incredible storyteller on his own. Um, and he took over this comic, doing it on a monthly basis, and he just infused every page with so much masterful design, compositional design, like these really interesting ways that they, went from panel to panel, but you're on the same background. Color choices, zip tone choices, and a lot of text, right? They didn't mention it, but I was, thinking in my mind, this is really, really heavy on text, these comics. And, that's because the stories were very juicy too. There was a lot going on. And Gene Day was just amazing. How much he put on the page, how much he was able to do. I mean, they say that he died very young
Yeah.
and that,
I was going to look up
yeah,
why and how.
right. Yeah, well, he got some kind of illness, I guess, but or I don't know, maybe it was a violent death or something. But um, it was just amazing what he was able to get on the page, and at the same time, it didn't sell well, and the run
Yeah.
came to an
Oh my
end,
God.
and the book
Oh.
got canceled, right? And he was doing really just a yeoman's job of carrying the story, carrying the art. There was plenty of action. It was everything that I complain of that comics is doing wrong. They were doing right, and and people should go back and recognize it. So I guess maybe if there's now a bump in all the back issues, it's going to be harder to find them in the dollar boxes. But I have some. I always collect Master of Kung Fu, whether it's Galassi or not. I have one right here that was just that I was just flipping through my commanding box that was just sitting in the back, and this is Galassi insides. But Gene Day kept up the traditions that Galassi was doing. It was like really interesting compositions, lots of silhouetting, lots of kind of like dramatic shading. Look at this, more darks than lights, right? You don't see enough of that. I don't do enough of that. I'm gonna do this right now. I guess these guys are battling in the daylight, so yeah, I can't do it. But I'm going to have, we got to have some nighttime scenes and really play that up.
Double lighting. That's I think the only thing our comic is missing.
Well, yeah, they mentioned that they had black and white silhouettes together, in the same panels, so that you're starting to get some of that Sin City, stuff, the positive and negative. But yeah,
Oh, yeah.
no, I just wanted to mention that and cross that off my list too because that
Okay.
was that was really interesting, and give the guy some due, even posthumously, is that a really really great run on Master Kung Fu. I think maybe only like a year and a half, so maybe like 15 issues, but right in the middle of it, double size editions, right? It was great. It was just like really really good value for for storytelling and stuff. So it was a while ago, but that's what we need to get back to. We need more people to see that, and we need more people to understand the investment, that it takes to lay out, some good comic pages here. How slow it actually
Right.
goes.
Well, we're coming over I hope, to go and make their comic. I will say, and I think you back me up 100% on this, is that we're making a comic book our
Yeah,
way, and it's based on exactly what um, Master Kung Fu, Conan the Barbarian, that 70s, like just rough and gritty, but like really good storytelling. Not a lot of talking heads, if any, a lot of action. And, we're doing it as a partnership. So, I mean, we both share the same enthusiasms, though there are places where we break and our own individual viewpoints then help the other kind of see a different perspective. So, and I've always enjoyed that about working with you, Jake. So,
yeah, more power. So, yeah, the one last thing that was on my list here, to mention, just to tease it, I guess maybe we'll talk about it next time, is that you turned me on to Power Comics, which is another, I guess,
channel,
channel that,
YouTube
another
channel.
social media
Yeah.
thing that we're not ashamed to mention, because they're also
Yeah.
delving into some quality
Love them.
stuff, and they're talking about it in a very meaningful way. Um, I did go and leave a comment on one of their posts because I
Oh, okay.
noticed a comic that I had, and so I wrote just in a comment, "I have this." That's all I wrote for Dreamweaver number three. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
guy, one of the
Yeah.
guys from the account, says, "Do you want to sell it?" And I'm like, sure, I'll sell it or trade it." And so, the guy's like, we're talking back and forth. So now, and I was like,
Oh,
I have a
wow.
bunch of others like that, that I haven't seen you guys feature. So now we're talking about trading this. It seems like that comic is worth about $90. I saw a sale of it on eBay, and I got it for $1, so I don't care. Um, but so we're gonna try and do a trade. He said, he said, "What are you into?" And I was like, "Oh, I like undergrounds. I like good girl stuff. I like indie stuff. I like 70s Marvels. I like Kirby." Um, and yeah, he's like, "Yeah, I got all of that stuff. Maybe not the good girl, but so we're gonna talk about a trade. I also spoke about original art. I don't know if those guys are artists, but if they could throw us a turbo pin up, I'd part with my Dreamweaver number three for that. So we're going to I guess we're to sometime later today. I'm going to go through my boxes and try to find all my really weird indie stuff, because I do have some insane self-published comics that it looks like the type of stuff that they feature. So I wanted to just get that off my chest too.
Yeah. Well, let's definitely put it on your list so you can give us a follow up.
Yeah, I can, when I have the stack pulled tomorrow, by the end of the day today, I will save the stack, and we'll run through the stack and preview the stack next week, and then we'll with bated breath wait to see which ones they're interested in. Yeah, because they do a very interesting niche thing, which is like very, very far off the grid indie
Cool.
publishers, right?
Cool.
Wouldn't you say that's what they do? Or
Oh my Lord. They chance to watch some of the interviews they do with the creators, publisher or distributor or something, and totally,
yeah,
I mean,
they're republishing them.
between exciting, it definitely burns time at night.
Uh-huh. Those are some good ones, and here we are right in the middle, and we're doing our post-apocalyptic sci-fi title. We're making our one comic, and then we're beginning, these side channels where we're also reporting on some really notable, comics that were made, some Kirby stuff. But post-apocalyptic sci-fi is kind of like our beginning, um, I guess, place in the world, right? Right. All right, man. So
I'll see you over in the episode issue 18 of Commandy that we're going to go hop.
that's right, and it looks, yeah, we're gonna be doing this one, The Eater. we will check back in with you guys on that channel, and then check back with us on this channel, or this series title, whatever, next time, episode, whatever we're doing. All right, bye everybody.